What would you do if the person you trusted most, the person you built your whole life around, was suddenly a stranger in front of you? That question has haunted me for months, ever since the night I walked into a hotel lobby, expecting to find my wife stressed out from back-to-back meetings, and instead found her sitting in a dimly lit dining room, a candle between her and someone who definitely wasn't her boss. You know how in movies, when the camera zooms in and the sound fades, the main character realizes the truth all at once? That was me, except it wasn't a movie, and there wasn't a director yelling cut when my whole world tilted. It was just me, a man clutching car keys too tightly in his palm, staring at the flickering flame on a table for two. I should start earlier, because nothing about this was sudden. Not really. Looking back, the breadcrumbs were everywhere. It's amazing what your brain refuses to see when you want peace more than truth. She told me she had been assigned a 3-day seminar. Something about corporate restructuring, staying at a hotel downtown so she could avoid the traffic. And I believed her. Or maybe I just wanted to. We'd been married nearly 10 years, and though the rhythm of our days had dulled, I never thought she would shatter the trust that anchored us. But lately, there had been cracks. The late-night texts she swore were from the team in Singapore. The sudden obsession with her phone battery. The carefully rehearsed stories that had no warmth in them, only precision, as if each sentence had been memorized. The night it happened, I had this gnawing unease. I couldn't shake it. Call it intuition, or maybe just self-preservation forcing me to look. She said she'd be in meetings until late, so I decided against every ounce of better judgment to drive to the hotel. Maybe I wanted to surprise her. Maybe I wanted proof. I don't know. All I know is my heart was hammering before I even pulled into the underground car park. The strangest thing, I kept rehearsing in my head what I'd say when I saw her. Would I play it off as romantic, pretend I was there to sweep her off her feet? Or would I confront her outright, call her out before she even had the chance to lie again? The lobby smelled of polished wood and expensive perfume. It was the kind of place where executives shake hands over cocktails, where every smile hides a negotiation. I asked the receptionist casually if she could tell me where the conference rooms were. She pointed me to the second floor, but I didn't go there. Something pulled me toward the restaurant instead. It was dim, with low jazz playing, the kind of place where whispers seem louder than laughter. And there she was, my wife, her hair down, the way she only wore it when she wanted to impress. A silk blouse I had never seen before, and across from her, a man leaning in close, smiling at her like she was the only person in the world. The candlelight flickered, and I swear in that moment, it lit up everything I had been blind to. I didn't storm over. I didn't Instead I stood frozen, watching her laugh softly at something he said. The kind of laugh she hadn't shared with me in months. My fingers dug into the keys, so hard the metal cut into my skin. The world around me blurred, but her smile was sharp, undeniable. She wasn't there for work. She was there for him. Now you might think that's where I lost it, that I flipped the table and dragged her out. But I didn't. I walked out, got back in my car, and just sat there. Because here's the truth. Betrayal doesn't explode. It sinks. It seeps into your bones like cold water, until you can't tell what's broken and what's numb. I sat in that car for an hour, maybe more, watching other couples arrive, laughing, holding hands, while my marriage dissolved upstairs in a glow of candlelight, and whispered promises that weren't meant for me. I'll be honest with you, I thought about driving away and never coming back. I thought about pretending I never saw it. There's a kind of cowardice in clinging to the life you built, even when you know it's rotting. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't erase the image of her hand brushing his, the way her eyes lit up in a way I thought was reserved for me. So I made a choice that night, not to confront her in public, not to cause a scene she could later twist into me being the villain. No, I went home. I waited, and when she walked in hours later, her perfume carrying traces of smoke and wine, I simply asked, "How was work?" The lie came so easily. She talked about breakout sessions, a keynote speaker, even a buffet dinner. She painted the night in corporate colors, sterile and boring, and I let her. I nodded, smiled even, because sometimes silence is sharper than accusation. She didn't know I had seen her. She didn't know the image of that candlelit dinner was burned into my mind, indelible. I went to bed beside her, listening to her steady breathing, wondering how many nights had been stolen from me without my noticing. But here's where it gets complicated. What do you do with that knowledge? Do you explode it open, tear down the walls of your life in one furious strike? Or do you bide your time, gather your strength, and plan? I chose the second, because if she thought she could play me for a fool, she didn't know me at all. And that, my friend, is only the beginning. When morning came, the light spilling through our blinds felt wrong. Too bright, too ordinary, too indifferent to the truth that sat heavy in my chest. She stirred beside me, hair tangled, face soft with sleep, as if nothing had happened. And maybe that's what gutted me most. The way she could lie to me, kiss me goodnight, and then drift into dreams without a crack in her facade. I watched her for a long time, the woman I thought I knew, and wondered how many versions of herself she had tucked away, how many I'd never been allowed to see. She woke, stretched, and smiled at me like any other morning. "Coffee?" she asked, already moving toward the kitchen. And I just said yes, because the words I wanted to spit out. Who was he? How long has this been going on? Do you think I'm blind? They stuck in my throat. Timing mattered now. If I confronted her without proof, without something undeniable, she'd twist it, gaslight me, make me the paranoid husband inventing stories in his head. I knew her too well to underestimate her talent for turning guilt into accusation. So I played my role, the dutiful husband, the one who packed her lunch, asked about her day, listened to her complain about colleagues, but inside I was taking notes. Every late meeting, every team dinner, every unexplained weekend call, I catalogued it all. I started looking at her phone when she showered, her emails when she left her laptop open. At first, there was nothing obvious. She was careful, I'll give her that. No flirty texts, no heart emojis, but patterns emerged. Numbers without names, emails forwarded to a personal account. The same hotel charged to her credit card more than once. She wasn't careless, but she wasn't flawless either. The breaking point came 2 weeks later. She said she had another overnight conference. My stomach turned when she packed that same silk blouse, folded neatly into her suitcase. This time I followed her, not immediately. She knew my schedule too well. I waited, told her I had to work late, kissed her cheek, and let her go. Hours later, I drove to the hotel. I stayed parked across the street, engine off, lights out, watching. It didn't take long. He showed up, suit jacket slung over his shoulder, and went inside. I followed. You know what I saw? Not just another dinner, a ritual. The way they greeted each other in the lobby, a brief brush of hands, eyes locking in a way you can't fake. The way she leaned into him like she belonged there. They weren't just having an affair. They were rehearsing a life that excluded me. I took photos. My hands shook, but I held the camera steady enough. Her laughing, him whispering something into her ear, her hand on his knee under the table. Proof, cold, hard proof. I should have felt vindicated, but instead I felt hollow, like the marriage I'd been fighting to hold together was already gone, and all I was left with were scraps. Back home I printed the photos and slid them into an envelope. I didn't confront her that night. I waited. That's the thing about betrayal. It makes you patient in ways you never thought possible. You start thinking in moves and counter-moves, not emotions. If she was going to destroy us, then I was going to control how the pieces fell. The next morning over breakfast I asked her if she loved me. She froze for a second too long, then smiled, kissed my cheek and said, "Of course I do. Why would you ask that?" And I smiled back, slipped the envelope into my briefcase and said nothing. Days turned into weeks. I became an actor in my own home, playing the husband she thought was blind, while quietly building my case. Bank statements showed transfers she couldn't explain, hotel receipts tucked into her purse, and then the final piece, a rental agreement, not in her name, but in his. A small apartment downtown, furnished, paid for in cash. I found the copy when she left her laptop open, the PDF sitting bold and unhidden in her downloads. That wasn't just an affair. That was a plan, a backup life. I can't describe the fury that ripped through me when I saw her. Years of shared memories, of sacrifices, of building a home together, and she was throwing it away for candlelit dinners and secret apartments. But rage doesn't win wars. Strategy does. I consulted a lawyer, quietly, discreetly, laid out the evidence, the photos, the receipts, the rental agreement. He nodded, said I had more than enough to protect myself, maybe even enough to turn the tables financially if it came to divorce. Fidelity clauses, joint accounts, assets. Suddenly our marriage wasn't just about love. It was about leverage. And still I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because part of me wanted her to hang herself with her own rope, to keep lying until the lies piled so high, they collapsed under their own weight. The night it finally happened, she told me she was working late again. She kissed me goodbye, perfume strong, and left. I gave her an hour before I drove to the apartment. I didn't barge in. I didn't even knock. I stood outside, listening through the thin walls. Her laugh carried, his voice followed, the clink of glasses, the shuffle of footsteps, and then silence, the kind of silence that doesn't need to be explained. That was it, the nail in the coffin. I walked away, got back in my car, and drove home. By the time she stumbled through the door hours later, cheeks flushed, hair messy, I was sitting at the kitchen table with the envelope in front of me. She froze when she saw it. "What's that?" she asked, her voice tight. "Open it." She did. And when her eyes landed on the photos, the receipts, the rental agreement, her face drained of color. She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. Don't insult me with another lie. I know. I've known." Her excuses came anyway. It wasn't what it looked like. She could explain. He was just a friend, a colleague, a confidant. But every word sounded thinner than the last, collapsing under the weight of the truth in that envelope. I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I just sat there, calm, steady, and said the words I'd rehearsed 100 times in my head. "We're done." And here's the part no one tells you about betrayal. It's not the confrontation that breaks you. It's the quiet after, the silence of a house that no longer feels like home. The way her toothbrush still sits by the sink, her jacket still hangs by the door, even as she packs her bags. The absence is louder than any fight could ever be. But I wasn't broken. Not anymore. Because in that silence, I realized something. She thought she'd played me. She thought she'd built a secret life, while keeping me in the dark. But I had the proof, the leverage, the control. And when the divorce papers were signed, when the assets were divided, when her new life with him wasn't as shiny as she imagined, it was me who walked away intact. Do I still feel the sting every damn day? Betrayal doesn't fade. It scars. But those scars, they remind me I survived, that I didn't let her lies define me, that I faced the candlelit dinner, the secret apartment, the collapse of everything I knew, and I didn't crumble. So when people ask why I seem quieter now, why I pause before trusting, I just tell them this. Sometimes the person you love most teaches you the hardest lesson of all, that trust is a gift, and once it's broken, you never give it the same way again. And that's my story. My wife said she was staying at a hotel for work, but what I found there wasn't just a betrayal. It was the end of one life, and the start of another. Mine.